recording. So welcome everyone to the Living and Thriving in Grad School Zoom session brought to you by Getting. Today we have a special guest with us, and I'm going to let her introduce herself, and then we'll go ahead to start and just, answer some of your burning questions that you have about what it looks like to live in grad school. So Amara, over to you. Please introduce yourself.
Okay, am I muffled or should I just talk without the headphones?
Yeah, maybe if you talk without the headphones, it might be better. I know that it's more like, but for us, it sounds like there's a barrier.
You there?
Now you sound far.
Is it better?
Yes, much better. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, hi everyone. My name again is Amara Osuji. I'm a third-year grad student in the US, so I'm working towards getting my PhD. I'm a PhD student in the Department of Chemistry. So my what's it called now? My program or my course of study, my course is PhD with is chemistry with a concentration in biotechnology. That's what I'm doing. That's what I do in my life these days. I'm from Nigeria, if you haven't guessed already. Is there anything else that I should say that I'm missing? I don't know. I can't really think of anything else right now.
That's totally fine. Thank you, Amara. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead to introduce myself. My name is Faye Piton. Everybody calls me Faye. I like to be called Faye Piton. So if you can pronounce it, to do so. If you can't, Faye, it's fine. I'm a master's student in Illinois State University, and I'm getting my master's degree in social work in child and family practice. I'm also a graduate assistant at the tutoring center for the school, where I offer support for students in a scholarship, in a fully funded scholarship, undergrad student. I also do a lot of things when I'm not doing all those things. Sometimes I work with Getting, I do other things. Yeah, I'm a busybody. That's how I would describe myself. I would also go ahead to just tell you guys a little bit about Getting. So Getting Basic Education Consulting is a company that has supported hundreds and hundreds of applicants in achieving their graduate school dreams. I like to say that Getting for me is special. It's more than just a company, because once upon a time I was a student in Getting. So to turn around and work with Getting is huge for me. Getting is most known for the graduate school application bootcamp, where we've helped up to 1,500 boot campers since 2019. We have 3 months of intensive learning, and we help you basically understand the skill sets and the tools that you need for your grad school application. So if you feel like this is something that you want to know a little bit more about, you can follow us on Instagram at Getting Edo. Okay, we've helped our scholars secure funding and scholarships in top universities around the world. I feel like I can't even start listing all of them, but just think about all the universities around the world. Getting Insiders are all over. The top scholarships, Erasmus, Chevening, Commonwealth, and so many others. Getting Insiders are all over the place. We like to joke that we can literally have a community in all the schools. That's how much the impact has been. So thank you guys for joining us on this Saturday morning or afternoon, wherever you are. We appreciate it. Let's go ahead to start. So before we go ahead, I need to do a poll. I hope this poll launches. So if you can see it on your screen, please answer. We want to know, are you currently in grad school? Are you applying to grad school, or will you be going to grad school soon? So that this can help Amara and I know how to kind of, answer some of your questions that you have. So Amara, the winning answer right now is I am applying to grad school. So let me wait for more people. I have a few people who say they're currently in grad school. Some say I will be going to grad school soon, but the winning is I am applying to grad school. Okay, giving another 2 or 3 minutes for people. I still see about 72% have participated, which is good. So please answer the poll on your screen. Currently in grad school, applying to grad school, will be going to grad school soon. Oh, I should have also given an option for I just want to be here.
Exactly.
There might be people who don't want to go to grad school or who don't care about grad school. I'm sorry for those people. All right, great. So far we have I am applying to grad school winning, and we have a few people who are currently in grad school and a few people who say I'll be going to grad school soon. So I'm assuming sometime, in this year, it's probably in the pipeline and so on. Thank you everyone for answering that quick poll. So yeah, you should be able to see the results, and great. So We're going to go ahead now and just start talking. I really encourage you guys to please engage in the chat box. If we say something that resonates with you or you need more clarity on, you can raise your hand. I have two people whose hands are up right now, which is Eunice and Rejoice. If you can please put down your hands so that I know you don't have any questions. As we go along, just in the chat box, give us some ginger. Don't let this be boring, okay, guys? And then that way we can, we can enjoy this conversation. So Amara, I'm going to go ahead and basically for each side, I'll just ask you the question on the side. Respond. If you feel like there's more you want to add, you can, and then we'll move on, okay? So we want to know your journey. Where were you before grad school? Tell us what uni did you go to? Maybe you can find some people who went to the same uni as you. What were you doing and how was your application process?
Okay, so I'm going to have a very honest conversation with you people because I think that most of people here, at least just by scanning through the names, are Nigerian, so people might relate to my story. Where was I before grad school? So, I first started off. My story is very interesting, but this is just I'm prefacing this and saying most people's journeys in life is not linear. So even if you've done this convoluted loop, it's fine. Okay. I started off in medical school. So I did all of my undergraduate education in Hungary. So I started off in medical school. I did 3 years of medical school.
Wow.
And decided that I didn't want to do this anymore. And then you just went from like one kind of traumatizing situation to another. And it's like, well, yeah, but I enjoy chemical engineering a lot more. So I eventually got my bachelor's degree from the University of Debrecen in Hungary, got my bachelor's degree in chemical engineering. And then at that point, I had lived outside Nigeria 6+ years or something. And I was just tired. I'm like, oh, I'm going home. I'm going home back to Nigeria because that's like where I was born. That's where I got raised and all of that. For context, in my class, there were, other Nigerians, and I was just one of two people who were saying, oh, we're going home. Every other person was like, they were going to other countries in Europe, some were moving to Canada. I was like, oh, I'm so tired. I'm going home. This was 2020, by the way. I got just I carried my load and I came back home to Nigeria. And then, there was a pandemic. I was like just trying to sort myself out. And I really was ready to stay. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just going to come and figure myself out. But then I decided to go to grad school. And quite frankly, the one thing that spurred that or like that, I guess, brought about that decision was the situation with NSAS. When it happened, I said, you know what? No, I'm not doing this. I love Nigeria. Unfortunately, the country does not love me back, so I'm out again. And I started applying to grad school. The funny thing is, I finished undergrad, or like I graduated January of 2020, and I have a friend who is currently at the University of Kentucky who kept hounding me like, oh, you should write GRE, you should apply for grad school. And I said, guy, I'm fed up with going to school. Like I'm done. I just want to go home. I'm going home. Don't do this. Like I'm not interested. But then in October 2020, suddenly I was texting him like, okay, so you know what? You were right. I'm ready. I think I'm not dealing with this Nigeria thing anymore. So yeah, that's how I, applied to grad school. I really did my applications. I would say relatively last minute. Don't do this, please. Plan your life properly and like do a proper application. I'm not saying my applications were improper, but like I didn't. I had a kind of a good situation because of the pandemic. Lots of schools were either waiving GRE completely or making it optional, right? And for people who have either taken GRE or plan to take it, at least from my friends, I heard that prep would take maybe 3 to 4 months to, actually get yourself together and get a good score. Again, this was October, end of October. That's when I suddenly woke up from my sleep. There's this Igbo proverb that says whenever a person wakes up is their morning. So end of October was my morning. I suddenly woke up and for most schools, the priority deadline meaning like if you want funding, this is by the time you have to apply for by. For most schools, priority deadline was like December, end of December, somewhere like January. I just did not have the time to do GRE, right? So I was like, okay, I'm not going to do it. And I didn't. I ended up not writing GRE. I just did TOEFL. It was fine. I applied to schools. And yeah, I got into my dream school. And now I'm here. So yeah, that's my journey. Faye, do you have
That's
any
very
questions?
interesting to know, Amara, because are you telling us that you didn't really have any work experience, or were you working all this while as a student here and there? Is it just your academic experience you used to
It
get into
was
high
it,
school?
it was primarily my academic experience. I mean, the work experience I had was like a summer internship that I did in undergrad. Um, okay, so just like you, Faye, I'm also like a busy bee. I just do things. I just be doing things, right? So when I was in undergrad, I also was an English tutor. So that I guess maybe that was like a tutoring experience that I had, and I knew that that would be beneficial in grad school. So I put that on my CV as well.
Mm.
Yeah, those were the primarily the two things. I would say I'm going to be honest, and I'll say that I have a very, very, very good undergraduate like first degree. So I was banking on that. That's also what gave me the confidence to be like, I think I can get away with writing GRE, with not writing
With
GRE.
no writing, yeah.
Sorry, yes. So if if your result isn't all the way that great, you need to do everything that you can to boost your application package. But for me, I was like, yeah, this should be enough.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it worked out
That's
fine.
very interesting that you would say that. And I think that this is important for any of our getting students who are here, because I've had people be like, I don't have any work experience. I've not done anything else. So sometimes your academic experience, if you have a good record, can definitely make a difference in your application. Very good to know. Okay. Oops, sorry. This is in the wrong place. But since we're here now, follow Amara and Getting. Follow Getting on IG. Follow Amara. She's on YouTube. Let me tell you guys how I
Yeah.
even know about Amara. Let me give a little bit of context. So last year was it June or July, or maybe even May, when I was coming to the US, I hadn't even gotten my visa yet. My very, 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 very good friend Tomini, who I also met through Getting, was like, hey, I have this friend who posts things on YouTube about life as an international student, things you should know in America. You should watch these things so that you can have, the questions you have answered before you come. And, I go through and I'm like, who is this babe? What's she even talking about? He's talking credit card, talking all these things that even as I'm here right now, I still don't understand it, but I'm like, okay. So, so please, if you have
Wow.
any, if you feel like,
I'm impressed. I didn't
oh
know
God,
that was the
are you telling us something? You're muted. Okay. So if you feel like you are coming to the US, or even generally as an international student, and you have questions, please follow Amara on YouTube. Her content is very useful, very relatable. And it was a no-brainer for me to be like, yeah, I need to talk to her just to see how she's living. She also has some little bit of enjoyment in there. So follow to know how you two can enjoy.
And just for context, before if you watch one video on my YouTube channel, just go on the channel. I think I've created playlists for like different things, for like, grad school application, visa, blah, blah, blah. If you have a question, chances are one of my videos have answered those questions, because I was very intentional about the video, at least in the last year, I was very intentional about what videos I put out. I literally sat down and I thought, if a person was moving to the US, didn't know anybody, didn't know anything, what would they want to know? What kind of information would they be looking for?
Yeah.
And I made videos to cover those topics. So chances are questions that you have would be somewhere in one of those videos. Just, instead of like pressing Twitter, I know it's not the same thing, but like just go on YouTube and watch the videos.
Yeah, her videos are very useful, honestly. And between just all those things on YouTube, I feel like you'll be prepared for, the journey that you have. Okay, so we've heard from Amara about her journey. She doesn't have and I think it's very interesting because a lot of international students come directly from Nigeria or from their home countries, Ghana, Kenya, wherever. So she has had some kind of experience living abroad, but let's also hear from her. What's it like moving from one abroad to another? Because all abroads are not equal. Okay, guys.
You are very correct.
So tell me what it was like landing in this new country. And I think a lot of my students always want to know, how do you even save up? Because we see what the economy in Nigeria is saying, and even the economy everywhere in the world, they're constantly increasing things. So just give us everything. How was it settling down? How did you save up? How did you find yourself there?
Okay, again, I might not have the general Nigerian perspective, right? But I'm going to be as honest as possible. What was it like landing in a new country? Honestly, first of all, I came late. I came to this country late. Like my flight, I got to my apartment at like 1 a.m. on my arrival day. And the next day was the first day of classes. So I missed orientation, I missed everything. I came late, right? So that's that on one end. Landing, I was just sleepy and tired. That was the thing. I'm like, I just want to go through customs. I flew, directly from Lagos to New York. I went through customs, and when I was at my gate waiting for my connecting flight to Boston, I was just like, I just need to stay awake enough to get on this plane so I don't miss it. Once I got on the flight, I got knocked out. I got here, I was like a zombie. I got my Uber, I came home, and I just slept. So I didn't really feel any real sense of excitement, particularly. But as time passed, like, okay, it's not this isn't bad. This isn't bad. For me, a culture shock, but in a positive way, I guess, I experienced in this new abroad country is the fact that everyone on the streets, we were just speaking English. Now, I lived in Hungary. Hungary is not an English-speaking country, right? So, like, everything was in Hungarian. The people was like speaking Hungarian. You go in the shops, everything is in Hungarian. I was fine because like I learned the language and stuff. But here I was like, oh, it's like I don't actually need to think twice to figure out if I actually understand what this person is telling me. It's just English that they're speaking, right? So that was a nice culture, I guess, positive culture shock for me. How did I adequately save up? Again, if you heard my story, I said it was in October that I woke up and I started to go to grad school. This worked out for me because I am fully funded, right? So I just knew that I just needed to figure out how to like deal with my flight tickets, get here, pay like my first month's rent or something like that. I just needed to survive until I got my first paycheck, right?
Yeah.
And when I decided to go to grad school, I just started saving up for that. Like I said, I used to be like an English tutor, so I was like I did gigs from Nigeria. Luckily, I got paid in dollars, so that helped, right? Right now with the exchange rates, I really don't know how people are doing it. I don't know how they're surviving. But for me, that's what I did. Once I decided to go to grad school, I just started saving up my little dollars. And when it was time to move, I had some money to move. And yeah, that was it. I also had some family backing, not even going to because I was there crying for my parents, like, help me, please. So yeah, there was that.
Nice, thank you. Amara, before we go ahead, somebody in the chat box is asking what's the name of your school?
I am at Tufts University. I'll just put that in the chat box.
Okay, great, thanks. So those of you who are in the chemistry department also, better go and see if there's money for you.
Thank you for mentioning that. This is a call for people who are interested in like computational chemistry, I believe analytical chemistry as well. If you have a good undergraduate background, have a strong background, please apply to Tufts chemistry department. I'm begging you people. I'm saying this because it is my sole mission to recruit more Black people in that department. That school is a primarily white institution, and I'm like, I need more Nigerians, I need more Black people here. When I first got there, honestly, I talked to the director of graduate studies. I'm like, what's going on? Where are the Black people? And we had whatever, but I made it my sole mission. Again, if you're interested in like computational chemistry, analytical chemistry, I'm saying this because there is new faculty in the department who definitely would be looking for students because they're just starting off, they're trying to build their lab. Please apply. We will be very happy.
Thank you for the plug. So you guys, you know what to do now. No need to talk too much. Get the show on the road. Okay. So now that you've got into this US and, it's different, but it's also not different, how did you navigate the reality of the fact that I'm coming to do a PhD program? Some of the questions, as I had sent to you that are the people who registered had was, how do I suddenly move from undergrad in Nigeria, where that's all I've known, to a place where I'm doing like a graduate degree program? How do you plan for those kind of things? How do you build a relationship with your professors? We already know, I mean, you and I would know that the way the professors are here is totally different. I also didn't go to my undergrad in Nigeria, but I mean, just from things I know. So how do we bridge that gap, and how do you prepare for it?
Mm-hmm. So the academic part of transitioning from an undergraduate degree to grad school, the truth is, I don't think there's much preparation that you can do, right? Especially if you haven't had your undergraduate degree or undergraduate studies in the US. You will come here, the first day of class, the first week of class, you would regret what you've done because you'll be
The
there sitting in
regrets for
class
me.
like, what is going on? I'm just going to tell you what's going to happen is you sit there confused. Most times the lecturers are going to be like, oh, this is basic stuff. You should have done that in undergrad. And you're like, which undergrad? When did I do that? Now, you're there feeling that way. You're looking around and your classmates who are Americans are nodding their heads like, yeah, we really did that in undergrad. And you're like, what is going on? So I don't think there's any advanced preparation that you can do in terms of, academics. People like to say, oh, brush up on your, courses, whatever it is that you're doing. And I'm like, you don't even know what like your curriculum is going to be. So you don't know what what you should be focusing on this you're brushing up. All I would say is when you get here, the best you can do is one, make YouTube your best friend. Just after make YouTube your best friend and don't let your work pile up. After every class or like every day, try to go over what has been like thoughts in class that day. Keep going. Don't let your work pile up, because in this place it's so easy for things to pile up. Most classes, at least for me on my program, most classes had weekly problem sets, right? And in my first semester, I was like taking 3 classes. I was TAing. I had problem sets. Problem sets is like homework to turn in every week. If you leave that thing, it's going to pile up so fast you won't even understand what happens. And like when you start to feel super overwhelmed, it's just not going to be great, right? Because it's very easy to, I guess, get derailed and just feel like, okay, what's the point of all of this? So yeah, like I said, I don't think there's much you can do in terms of advanced preparation academically, because what do you know you're brushing up on? But when you come here, you need to remember that at least that first semester is really not the time for you to, the temptation is there, right? But it's really not the time for you to come and like start flexing, you're having a great time. I mean, you should make time to also have fun, but remember your primary reason for being here. It will get better. Like after the first semester, you kind of get a hang of the system of learning, the education system. You might have like a little process thing going, how you work and how you work with the system, and you could feel a little bit more relaxed. But that first semester, at least the entire first semester, because it goes by so quickly, like August to December, before you know it, there's Christmas decoration everywhere. The entire first semester, just really apply yourself, dedicate your time wholly to studying and making sure that you're not, lagging behind. I cannot answer the question about the difference in the educational system because I didn't do undergrad in Nigeria. And how do you build a relationship with your professors?
So Amara, hold on before you answer that question. So recently, about 2 weeks ago, I had
Yeah.
somebody message me and he was like, Faye, I'm really down. And I'm like, oh, what's going on? He said, I wrote this paper, submitted this homework, and my professor rejected it. My professor said I didn't do what I was supposed to do. But honestly, I feel like I'm going to fail this homework. Of course, this is just one paper out of all the things he has to do, but he felt really dejected. Like, I spent hours on this paper and my professor is saying, I don't even know what you wrote. So for that kind of person, or for anyone here who just feels like, I don't even know what I'm doing, or I can't get a hang of this homework, what would you advise them?
This was actually my one advice for also building a relationship with professors is the same thing is the same response for your question. It would be go for office hours. So for people who don't know, I'm going to put that in the chat box. Office hours. Office hours are time slots dedicated by professors. It's your time to ask questions. It could be 1 hour, maybe twice a week, or an hour and a half every week, or whatever. These professors will be in their office. They are waiting for you to come with your questions, to ask all those questions. So if you have any homework and you're not really sure, like the person who reached out to you in their case, if maybe before they started the paper, they weren't sure what to expect, they should, if you're in that situation, go for office hour. Also email these people. They would respond, as long as you're a student of theirs. Professors, most of them really love their job. They like to teach. I mean, you need to have a certain level of love and passion for this job to be in the field of academia. I give props to them. I could never. So most of them love their jobs. If you email them, they would respond, right? So office hours that, and in my school, I don't know if it's something that's available in other schools. There's something called recitation as well, which is based pretty much, I guess, in Nigerian school lingo is like tutorial sections. So recitations usually are run by teaching assistants. It's a time again to come with your questions about like whatever your homework, your problem sets, or whatever challenges it is that you're having in class. Your teaching assistant, your TA, is going to be there. They would ask you those questions because there are people who feel more comfortable talking to other students instead of talking to professors. So use these resources, right? That's what I'm going to say.
Okay, good. Let me know in the chat box, you guys, if this is helpful. Do you feel like this is something you would want to do? What are your concerns about actually speaking to your professor? Because I've heard people say things like, oh, I just don't want to be known like that. Or I just feel like, oh, if I go, the professor will think I don't know something. So let me know in the chat box, what are some things you feel about what Amara has just said? I think that one of the things I would say as a grad student, if you're coming from Nigeria, from wherever you're coming from as an international student in the US, it's okay not to know. It sounds cliche, but really, you will find out that even the professors, all of us are scamming ourselves at the end of the day. They don't know, we don't know. We're just using aspire to perspire to be pushing forward. That's the truth. So it's okay for you to get to that point where you're like, I really don't know. Now, the difference between you and anybody who will succeed is you saying, how can I know? So you go from, I don't know to, how then can I know? Okay. Okay, this is a good question. Is there any form of racism you experience that can make you reluctant to ask the professors? Good one.
Actually, no. So I know I said my school is like a primarily white institution. Um, so in the US, institutions are classified, I think, into two broad categories: HBCUs, which are historically Black colleges and universities, and then PWIs, which are primarily white institutions. It just means, if you go on one campus, you either find more white people or more Black people. Luckily for me, in my department, at least for the courses that I took, the professors were actually really great. I didn't have any problems with racism. I haven't faced any problems with racism as well. But I'm going to say that your experience would differ a lot depending on your situation, depending on where you are. And this is something you should probably take into consideration when you're applying to grad school. What state or what town, what city is your school in? What's the situation like? Is it a diverse place? Is it not? Is it not very diverse? The Boston area is diverse. We're Black, we're brown. There's like people from everywhere here. So outside school, in school, I haven't had any like racist experiences. So I haven't had any external barriers to seeking help from the professors. If anything, the one thing that kept me, I guess, that held me back was just this thought of, bro, these people are really going to know that I don't know anything. But that's fine. That's why they're there. I'll tell you a story. So because I'm in the chemistry department, I had to take, when I was doing coursework, I had to take one chemistry course in like the different fields. So like organic, analytical, blah, blah, blah. Now I hadn't really done any inorganic chemistry in depth. First day of my inorganic class, I said, what is this man talking about? Okay. It got so bad. I started feeling bad for the guy because I would sit in class. The lectures were like an hour, either 75 minutes or 90 minutes, I don't remember. And then this guy had office hours immediately after. So I would go from class to his office hours and I would say, I didn't understand anything that you said. So this man would give me a crash course of everything he just thought. But somehow, like when it was, I guess, one-on-one and I was asking questions, I understood it better. And I was like, oh my gosh, this happened almost every week. Right. And I guess in his mind, he just kind of got used to it. Okay, after class, he's going to see Amarachi there. And it's time for like the mini or like crash course.
Yeah.
It's fine. That is fine. And I'm also going to give people a hack or a cheat code. If you're struggling, you need to open your mouth and talk. The US is not like Nigeria where the professors want you to fail. In most sane countries, if there's a high failure rate in your class, then it's a problem for you as the like professor. And they have what's it called now? Assessments, like student assessments at the end of, I guess, every semester. If all the students, if your assessment is saying this person is trash, this person, your job might be, you might have some problems with the school, with the graduate school. So they don't want you to fail. So open your mouth, talk to them. And again, something else that people don't realize is that schools give accommodations. Accommodations means like if you have any sort of challenge, either mental or physical challenge that makes it difficult to complete your work, they're going to give accommodations, So maybe if the requirements for completion of this class is X for the general class, if a person has academic accommodations from the dean, it's not like you just pop up one day and say, oh, I can't do this. You need to like have proper documentation, paperwork, and all of that. Your requirements to complete that class might be less. Maybe when you're doing exams or tests, you might get more time to finish it, things like that. So there are resources that are available. Plus if your professor knows that you struggled the entire semester, but they've seen that you've been, you've really been doing your best, you've been putting in the work. If you're, I don't know, maybe like a couple points away from the pass mark, they will just round it up for you, like, okay, just carry your load and be going. The one thing that you don't want is in the very last week of the semester, suddenly you turn up at the professor's office and you're like, I have not understood anything that we've done this entire semester. They'll look at you like, I don't know who you are. I've never seen you. It just seems like a convenient excuse for you to show up at this time saying that you've been struggling. So yeah, long story short, there's a lot that you can do to make this journey, easier for you.
Yeah, I think I really like what Amara has said about just the relationships we build with our professors and how we show up. I think for many people, when you come from school in Nigeria, and even where I went to school in the University of Ghana, it's a thing where you're in big classrooms. In our minds, we're like, we're just going to write our exam, write our test, pass, end of story. But grad school isn't like that. In grad school, the professors are looking for collaboration. So they want to collaborate with you on your assignment. So if you say, I don't understand this thing, you can sit down with them from morning till night and be say, I don't understand, until you understand. And they would even give you extra resources, extra books. And once, as Amara said, once they notice that, okay, it seems like this student is really struggling for whatever reason, they would make provisions and accommodations for you to be able to catch up and to be at par with other people in the class. So the summary of this is speak up and don't have this thing of, oh, because the professor is white, then they're ultimately better than you, or you cannot approach them. I'm sure there will be racists generally, but as Amara said, from my experience as well, most professors are not like that, because for you to be at that point where you are teaching grad students, you should have had experience with lots of people all over the world in your field. And if you're a racist at that time, I don't even know what to say to you. So I would say that that's not really a big problem I think so far in the US, as opposed to maybe other places. So good questions. Thank you guys. I'm seeing some of your questions in the chat box. We'll get to as many as we can. Okay. So this is also another big question we have. And I like to be honest with it. I'm extroverted. I can be an introvert too, but I'm very extroverted. I like to make friends. I like to know people, and I've made a lot of friends. I found community, and I still battle with loneliness, because there are just times where it's like, it's just not like home. Or there are times where you're like, oh my gosh, all my friends are getting married and I can't even be there to celebrate with them. You feel like your friends are, not that you want to get married, but you feel like you want to be part of the occasion. Your family, your mother just turned 70. You can't even be there. Just all those small things here and there, it gets to you. So Amara, tell us your own experience. How has it been living away? First of all, you're a veteran, Seth.
Exactly.
So tell us your veteran experience.
Now that I look at these questions, I'm like, like, damn, I don't know if I was actually the best person if I'm the best person to answer these questions, because um my my story is one of someone who has just been used to living alone, right? I basically, since I turned 11, I've never really lived at home full time because I did 6 years of boarding school.
Same.
You know the way school runs. If you're in boarding school, you're only the longest time you're home is like through the long vacation, right? So that was the longest stretch I ever really spent at home. What going to boarding school taught me was a sense of independence, right? So I didn't always feel like, oh, I miss home, all of that. I was happy to be wherever, it's like whatever. And then same thing. So transitioning, then moving to Europe, it was same thing. I'm like, yeah, I'm still away from home. The only difference now is that instead of going home or like having my parents visit me every month or something like that, I would only go home during the holidays, during the summer holidays. Cool. And then again, moving to the US is like, well, oh well, we're here again. But for people who have never lived away from home, it's a very, very, very big transition. Something else that makes this even more difficult is if you are, I guess, fortunate or unfortunate to then move to a place that has winter, very bad winters, when it gets cold, it gets dark. You see a different side to loneliness that you actually never really understood, right? So it is hard. It's something I'm going to acknowledge that it's hard, but the best way to, I guess, deal with this is one, find community. It could be your classmates, it could be maybe your housemates. If you go to a school that has like lots of your countrymen there, if there are groups and stuff, join the groups. If you guys have events, attend those events. If you are someone who goes to church or to mosque, whatever, you can, from your place of worship, you can make friends there, meet people there. If you also want to be a little bit more adventurous, you can go on the apps. So Bumble is not just for dating. There's like Bumble BFF where you can, I guess, like meet people in the local area.
Okay.
Yeah. Bumble BFF specifically. So Bumble is generally a dating app, but like there's a friends section where you could like, meet people. Please be careful. Don't meet any people in any shady places.
Don't meet
But
anywhere.
exactly. So yeah, there are those options. But if you feel like you're struggling a lot, I can't deal with this, please talk to somebody. Most schools have like counseling and mental health like services. If you feel like, I need extra help, talk to somebody, talk to a professional. Don't come here with that, no, I'm fine now, Nigerians don't go to therapy. Please talk to someone if you're struggling. Yeah, it definitely gets better with time. When you first get here, it might be like, oh, I don't people or whatever, but the more people the better hopefully your experience would be. So yeah, I always used to joke, like my first semester people would ask me, how do you like it here? And my response would be, oh, I don't hate it, which was a good starting point. It's like, I don't hate it yet, but then over time, the more I met people, I knew people, I was like, oh, okay, I'm actually starting to like it. So starting off at oh, I don't hate it here is a good place, it could go, it could get better, which happened for me. So yeah.
Good point, Amara. So there's something I really, really want to say, and I'm targeting this. I know there are other people who are not Nigerians here, but I'm targeting it towards Nigerians. So just from my experience going to school in Ghana, coming to the US, Nigerians have something that we sometimes do where we feel like we're superior to everybody else. So it's almost a thing of these white people, these Ghanaian people, these Indian people, we're always like making it seem like, oh, these people, let me tell you, let me tell you something, drop that in Nigeria. The purpose of having a global education is to help you broaden your mindset, is to introduce you to people and places and spaces that if you're in Nigeria, you will never step into, which is just the truth. So if you're going to leave your family, leave your home, leave everything that's familiar to you to come thousands of miles to the US, please drop that attitude. Now, it doesn't mean that everybody will be friendly to you, because truly there are things that are peculiar about, certain people. It's true, but be open. If somebody is nice to you, be nice back. Ask questions. If they invite you, oh, we're having a potluck in our church, show up. Nobody there might be your friend, but talk to a few people here and there. If your department says we're having pizza, it's only pizza they serve. We're having pizza, Kidiko, go and sit there. Okay, what's your name? Oh, yes, I do. You can even just talk to them professionally. It doesn't have to be a thing of let's do friendship. But the more you see them around town, the more you realize that, oh, these people are actually, in the same space as me, and you guys can get to talk. So that mindset that we have of, there's some people who are, no, I don't really like people that are like this. Why? You don't even
know them. You haven't even interacted with them.
You've not even interacted with them. Oh, yeah, no, I don't really like to make friends with people that are not Nigerians because they don't understand. Yes, they don't understand a lot about your culture, but that doesn't mean they can't appreciate it. That doesn't mean that they can't learn. So be open to making friends. And I think the other thing too is that sometimes you have to wait. It's not that immediately you come, you're going to have 20 friends. And the people you start to make friends with might not even be the people you end up with later on. So give it time, but make sure you're putting yourself out there. Yeah, okay, good. You guys, let me know in the chat. Does this make sense? Do you understand where we're trying to go with this? When we're saying don't generalize, don't make all these silly assumptions, don't try to think like you're better than everybody because there's so much to learn. Okay, all right, good. Thank you for your responses. So Amara, let's talk about this one because this is my own favorite part. About self-care. I feel like grad students, we be doing the most. We're working, especially those of us that have assistantships. We're working, we're going to school, you're trying to do professional development. You're still thinking, when I finish this degree, where am I going? You're trying to keep in touch with people in Nigeria. There's just a lot. You're probably living in an apartment that you're just like, I'm just managing. You probably don't even have a car. Like, they hustle plenty. So please let me know, what does self-care mean to you and how do you take care of yourself?
What does self-care mean to me? So I love to be in my house. If I'm not doing anything outside my house, like if I'm not like in lab or doing any of the other million things that I do, my idea of self-care is to just be on my bed. Nobody's stopping me. I'm not stopping anybody. I don't even want to talk to anybody. I just want to be there on my bed existing. I don't even watch movies that much. I will just be there, just laying down there, maybe pressing my phone or something. That's my idea of self-care. But ironically, I don't get a lot of time to just be, because like Faye said, there's always something. There's always, something going on. But self-care is definitely something you need to prioritize. So there's that. The other thing that I do is I go to the gym, I work out. It sounds very cliche, but you need to exercise.
Exercise is self-care.
Yes, exactly. That's something that I do. It also helps. It gives you like some sort of mental clarity. You get that endorphin boost. You're like, oh, I feel good. I feel good. I feel good. Yes, those are the things that I do. Disclaimer: I realized that once I start to feel overwhelmed, like when there are a lot of things going on for me, there's a lot for me to do. But going to the gym is first thing to go out of the window. I'm just like, I don't have time for this, right? But please do better, better than I am. And yeah, prioritize your health and your wellness.
Okay. Good. So I think one of the things to talk about when it comes to self-care is that everybody's care of themselves looks different. Amara says for her, just existing without noise, without the chaos of having to work is self-care for her. For me, just like she said, I realized that self-care for me is being able to get good sleep. I go to bed early and I wake up early, because I realized that when I do that whole midnight, be doing what I don't know in the midnight, pressing phone, doing rubbish, and I wake up, I'm grumpy, I can't face the day. So I prioritize my sleep. Everybody in my house knows. If somebody calls me by 9 or 9:30, they will say, Faye, hope you're not sleeping. They know because I'm in bed. So I think that find what works for you, but the most important thing is take care of yourself. See, it doesn't make sense for you to be like, oh yeah, I came here to hustle, and then at the end of the day you collapse because the hustle. Warrior, they tire, as somebody likes to tell me. You will be tired. You will see that after first semester you'll be so drained, so exhausted, you don't even know where you're going. And if you're not clear, in your mind and in your body, you can't do anything. So just be aware of that. Okay. So go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you. I was just at the conference and I heard this quote from one of the speakers, and this is with relation to self-care. The person said, if you don't make time for your wellness, you will take time for your illness, which means if you don't, take care of yourself, when you get sick, you have to stop. You will eventually make that time that you've been saying, oh, I don't really have the time for that. So please prioritize your health.
Yes, yes. And I feel like a lot of people say self-care to sound cliche, and we think that self-care means, oh, you're just crossing your leg, doing one kind funny. No, self-care is just, I know that I need to meal prep. For me, self-care is meal prep, because when I do meal prep during the weekend, during the week, I eat like a scavenger. There's nothing to eat, and then I'm grabbing rubbish, and then at the end of the week, you are feeling funny because you've been eating what your body just doesn't like. So self-care is meal prep. It doesn't have to be extravagant things. It's just mindful of what are the things. So one of the quotes I tell myself is, how can I prioritize something that has the most impact on my week? And the most impact on my week is meal prep. The most impact on my day is waking up, having good sleep, waking up early to work out. So those are just small ways that you should think about it. If I indulge in this activity, how can it affect my week, or how can it affect my day? And then, you go from there. Okay, good. Let me see what's in the chat. Say do a recap.
We're recording. You watched the recording at the end. Don't worry.
Because he said the hustling will not be hustling you now. So, okay, let's move on. So we've talked about so many things, but at the end of the day, we know that a lot of African or international students come to grad school because they have big dreams. They want to be able to do so many things. So how are you just literally from the quote I just said, what are some of the things you are doing today to help you build towards your post-study goals and dreams? If you feel comfortable sharing them, you can. But if you don't feel comfortable, because these things are kind of, but if you feel like you're able to share with us some of your post-study goals and dreams, please go ahead and then let us know some things you're doing today, or things that you feel like you wish you knew this in first year, now that you're in your third year.
So
somebody said, how do you have time to find love? Avoid love. Avoid love.
Okay, so I came into grad school and I was very, very, very intentional, right? I've been very intentional about all I'm doing. And usually, honestly, people don't even think about these things until maybe their final year, and they realize, oh crap, there are things I should have maybe been doing from my second year or my third year that would have made this entire journey easy. I meet people who are in their final year and they're like, you're so proactive. I said, yes, I don't want to hear stories when I finish. So some of the things are things like going for conferences, especially like career conferences. If you're in the chemical sciences, whatever, chemistry, chemical engineering, chemical sciences, join the ACS, American Chemical Society. They have these conferences where you meet other people, you learn a lot about yourself, about career options, all of that. Luckily for me, I live in the Boston area, and this area is really good for the kind of jobs I would like to do. So there are lots of like pharmaceutical companies, biotechnology companies in the area, and these companies organize events. Go networking events. I go to these events. I'm adding people on LinkedIn, left, right, center, right? That's a simple thing that you can do. Okay, let's start by making a LinkedIn profile, right? Create a LinkedIn account. Go for these events. When you go for the events, add people. And please, unless you're adding someone just when you're standing in front of them, don't just send like a connection request. Send a small message that says, hey, we met at XYZ conference. I'll be happy to connect with you on here. Because if you meet high profile people that get hundreds of requests every day, they're like, just ignore most of the requests. But if you add a little message saying we met at XYZ, they're likely to accept it. That's that. The next thing, honestly, is if you're a master, this is just for grad students, right? This is primarily focused on grad students. Okay. If you're a master student, try to get an internship. When you come in, I'm more familiar with the fall cycle. So when you come in fall, around like September, October, start applying for internships. These internships would happen the next year, like summer. So after this internship will be after your first year. Now I say this because America is a country where work experience is highly, highly valuable, right? This work experience could be in form of internship is work experience. Please try to get an internship. If possible, prioritize the companies that are known for hiring international students and filing work visas and work permits for them. Now, this is like a different level because I'm sure people are like, I'm just trying to get into grad school first. Now you're telling me about companies that are filed for all of these things. But a good website that I like to recommend is Interstride. I think it's interstride.com. I believe they have a
Recommend it, so
list.
let me write it down too.
I think they have a list of, or like a ranking of companies that are companies that file H1B. H1B is like work visas, which is an entire thing. But there are companies that, like international students, they have the money to file all of these permits and stuff. If you can, prioritize your internship setting opportunities with these companies, because you don't just get that work experience, but if you're really good and stuff, they might offer you a full-time job to come back when you graduate, and that just takes up a whole level of stress from your shoulders. Because if you have that, see, as an international student, you always need to be in status. So you're like either a student or you're doing this, you're doing that. So a lot of people start to panic at the end of their studies if they don't have a job, because it's like, what am I going to do now? But if you've thought about this in advance, you've done that your internship, maybe you have that full-time position from the company, guess what? Your transition is just going to be very smooth. You're like, okay, now I've gone from students to like OPT, whatever, you're a worker. So prioritize getting, those internships. I've talked about conferences, internships, and I guess like focus on your studies, try to make the best grades possible. Yeah, that's really all I can say about this.
Thank you, Amara, for telling us that. So there are a few things I would also add to this. The way schools are in the US is that they try to really offer a holistic experience for students. So I think like last week, I had somebody who asked me, what is your favorite thing about, going to school in the US? And I said, it's experience. If you want to do things, if you feel like, I don't want to sit down in my house, I just want to be working, doing something, you will have lots and lots of things to do on your campus alone. You will see multiple opportunities to volunteer, multiple opportunities, day of something, something peer kini, this one mentor. Just join as many as your schedule would allow you. I think that many of us went to school, and I'm guilty of it. We went to undergrad, I'm just here to do my tests, my exams, while away time with my friends, watch movies, nothing special. And I'm telling you, I also didn't have extracurricular when I was in undergrad. So even if you're not really, or you don't even get an internship, your school will have campus jobs you can do over the summer. They will tell you, oh, you can be a college coach for students who want to come in August. Like, they're just things. During the December holiday, rest. But if they say, oh, they need people for 2 days to volunteer, all those things add up. And the best part of those things, you will find people who are also looking for what you're looking for, who you can then collaborate with. So please, when you come, just keep your eyes open. They will send things via email. They will post things in different places. Your professors will tell you, oh, I have this opportunity for a one-day conference. So for example, I got an email from a program coordinator. Oh, we're looking for students who can volunteer for 2 days at this international social work conference that we're having in Springfield, which is even a different city. So with that one, if you can even rope in small travel. So just be mindful of those opportunities. The other thing I would say is about your professors themselves, especially if you're looking to do a PhD after your master's. Talk to your professors. Sometimes go and just form Aspire to Perspire and go and sit down with them and be like, oh yeah, these are my dreams. Let them be advice. You already know what you're going to do, but just be listening to the advice. Wow, I never knew that. Form Aspire to Perspire, and you will see that many of them care about you. They will even plug you. They'll say, oh, I know this person, or I know that the university offers this or that, or so on. And all these small things, I think that most times we're disillusioned when we see people abroad, like, this person just went abroad 3 years. But they're already working in Twitter, they are working in Google. For some people, yes, things happen really fast for them. But for most people, it's like the combination of little things here, little things there, little things here, little things there. So use your resources that you already have. Don't be like, oh, I don't really know what to do. Start somewhere. Like me, I've done so much in this my 1 year. I always tell people that when I was an undergrad, I don't even think I did anything like this. Just 2 days, they say, oh, let's volunteer here. Follow them. Use that one to know people. Use that to, find what you need. Okay. All right. I've
And
talked too
just
much.
I'm going to highlight something that you said. If you're thinking, volunteer, no, I can't make money, da 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 da. Or if you're also thinking that your volunteer experience is like in all kinds of different fields, it's fine. Have a running list. I have a running list of all the things that I've done. And just like you, I was very intentional. I said, okay, first year, I'm giving myself a break to figure out, get in the groove of things, have this reading. But then I told myself in first year, I had an outline of every like thing I want to do. Like for me, it was leadership roles or like leadership experience. I want to get every year because those things are good on your CV, right? So it's like, okay, second year I'll do this, third year I'll do this, fourth year I'll do this, fifth year I'm like, okay, maybe nothing because hopefully I'll be rounding up, right? So you can have these kind of plans for yourself and also document everything that you've done. Now, every single experience, every single volunteer experience doesn't need to go in your CV. But when you're looking for jobs, you might be surprised to see that the experience that a specific job is looking for is all the things that you've done or some of the things that you've done in your like different voluntary roles, and you just add those there. If you've volunteered in other fields that don't really fit, leave those ones out of it, right? Your CV should be specific to the job role that you're applying to. But if you have this running list, of things that you've done, you have your portfolio, you're just going to pick and put them into the CV. So don't be, I guess, discouraged if you're like, oh, I'm just kind of going all over the place and like doing things in all kinds of different fields. You never know. My dad always says nothing is a waste, like no knowledge is a waste. You never know when something is going to come in handy. So
amazing. So I know that somebody said, she says, Olga, you said, would we be getting sessions for those interested in the UK or Canada? I can definitely, connect with more people in the UK and Canada. But the truth is that the educational system in these spaces are really similar in terms of how they support students holistically. So you will find that whether you're in the UK or Canada, it's still the same. You can have opportunities to speak to your professor, to connect. Sometimes your professor will say, I need a volunteer, I need a student to go with me to this conference. Just be like, okay, oh, me, I'm available. You can, it's just, sometimes it's just those little small things that open up doors for you. So somebody recommended me for a job, and when she told me, my heart was beating fast. I said, I can't. I said, that's such a big responsibility. She was like, yeah, I spoke to this person because you worked at this other place over the summer, and I think that she should consider you for this job. I was like, how? Like, how we're just like, no, I can't. And it was just because I worked a summer job, and the summer job was just 4 weeks. So sometimes you're able to do small things that, I mean, when she said that to me, I was like, and she was even telling the person that, oh, but that, she's going to need sponsorship. And like, this person was advocating for me, like, she's going to need this and this. So can you start thinking about the possibility of this actually happening? I was shocked. So sometimes it's not so much about, oh, we only want to do this 6 months internship in Google before we know that we can make a difference. On your campus, start making a difference for yourself, okay? So somebody said the UK is vastly different from the US. Well, the truth is that I'm not so sure because I didn't go to school in the UK, but just from my friends and conversations I've had with people, the hustle is the same. The truth is that we're all trying to get to one point and so on. Okay. Princess says, I think a very good place to start building your portfolio is through your departmental associations or societies. That's true. Me, I can't advise you to be president of association because I don't have the time for that. But if you feel like you have the time for that, I think that if you come to the US with a full scholarship as opposed to an assistantship, you have more time. But if you have an assistantship where you're already doing 20 hours, my own assistantship, I'm sure I'm even doing 30 hours. There's no time for any extra this thing because I work in an administrative role. So 20 hours is 20 hours. You must be there. It's not like some other places where it says 20 hours, but you're only teaching for 5. Mine is not like that. Let me see what else.
I just put something in the chat. So I often, because I'm like in chemistry, I often think about just chemistry stuff, but I know there might be people who are in engineering, and a conference that you can and you should plan to go to is the NSB, National Society for Black Engineers. I believe NSB conferences are every year. Actually, now that we're here, what's the Noble Shake? Black NSB. These are two different organizations. One is NSB, it's the National Society for Black Engineers, or for Black Engineers, whatever. So it's, as you can tell, it's just like engineers. It's a vast field. This is a place where recruiters from different companies come. So it's almost like a career fair. Honestly, there are different things, but some people would even go only for the day where the recruiters are going to be there. You know, maybe if your advisor isn't funding that, you can't afford to stay in these hotels for multiple days, you're strategic with your trip, you go on the day that there will be the job fair. Have a nice CV, talk to people. You never know what what opportunities can come through from those. The other one is Nobuche. I believe it's like the National Association of Black Chemists and Chemical Engineers. This is more streamlined as well. Go to Nobuche conferences. I think there's one every year as well. Go there. The good thing about this is the recruiters from these companies are looking for you. They're looking for, because they're trying to do, like have a more diverse thing. So they go to these specific career fairs that are for Black people, for underrepresented communities. Please go talk to them, apply for positions if they have any available. Some of these conferences will even do like free CV revamp for you. Some of them will do like on-site interviews, so you know if you're like actually getting a job or not. So just be intentional about your life here, and do your part. Don't go to bed thinking I could have done better or I should have done this. And I know that not having information sometimes is the limiting factor, which is why I'm telling you guys. I hope people are taking notes of all these different organizations. I've mentioned ACS, I mentioned NSBA, NSBE, and Nobuche now. So yeah, keep those in mind.
Thank you, Amara. Okay, so we should be rounding up soon. I'm going to give the opportunity for you guys to ask questions. So use the raise hand function. Please ask a question that we haven't talked about at all today, so we can maximize the time. If it's a question, something we've already said, we're going to have to refer you to the recording so we can, maximize the time.
Before we actually get to the real-time questions, there's a question here that caught my attention. Someone said, what's the implication of failing a course in grad school? I think that's a good question. So as far as I know, what might be the situation is you might get on academic probation. And I think you have like an opportunity to either redo the course or something like that. And then if you fail it again, then it's bye-bye. But I think there's like, steps that you take. As far as I know, I don't think that maybe the first time you fail a course, like that's it, right? But please don't plan to fail.
As in,
don't plan to fail, please.
Don't plan it at all. And I think like Amara said, your school will let you know what the implications are. So for example, in my school, for you to be able to maintain your graduate assistantship, you have to have a 3.0/4 GPA, like to be able to maintain. So even if your department might not kick you out, you need to maintain your assistantships. Now there's some other departments in my school too that a C is a fail. Like a C means you're retaking that course. So just know what your department asks for. I think as a grad student, you should strive to be in, now nobody's saying come here and be competing for 4.0. Even if other people in your class are competing, that's not where you're going, because sometimes people do that. They come to grad school and they're competing. They don't give best students. Maybe they do in some other schools. In my own school, they don't give best graduate students. There's no valedictorian. The cocoa is that you have learned and you are leaving. So just be mindful of that. Your school will tell you what it is. Amara, they said, is making videos a part of your self-care?
It's not. The truth is, it's not. If anything, it's a labor of love. Because I'm like, I could be on my bed, all this video editing. I don't have the time for it. It's not part of self-care at all. It's just something that I do because I know that people, lots and lots of people need that information. I was very lucky, I had all of this experience. I had people who I could ask questions to directly, but not everybody has that. Like people who want to do these things and they're like, I literally have no idea where to start. So that's why I make the video. It's a labor of love. That's
It
what it
is.
is.
My
It's
roommate
nothing
has
else.
YouTube, and let me tell you, I see she puts in so much work. Like
Mhm.
sometimes I'm like, babe, how are you even doing this? So yeah, if you really want to do it, I'm sure that when you get there, you'll find what you need. So Marachi, quick question. Somebody says, how were you able to find housing before you left Nigeria? Oh, yeah.
My situation was definitely not the, I guess, common or not the norm. But for me, what I did is I looked on my university's off-campus housing website. So the schools in the Boston area have this like collective off-campus housing website where people like landlords post apartments. But the flip side of that is that you create a profile, and if you're looking for a roommate, you can like message people based on like their profile and their preferences. So my first step was finding a roommate. I looked at I messaged a couple of people, and then I found my roommate. We spoke over the phone to kind of see if we vibed and if we would, kind of get along together. When we realized, oh, okay, I think this would work, we then agreed to find a place together. Now, I was lucky because my roommate is American, so she lives here already. All we did was we created an Excel spreadsheet, started looking for places everywhere. We find like put a link, the price, start from our different departments, stuff like that, and we kind of streamlined from there. And when we finally decided on the one place, I was able to do like a video tour. She was okay with it, blah blah, and then we went from there. All I did was send her my deposit. I sent that from Nigeria. And when I got here, I paid my first month's rent. So that's how I sorted it out. Other people who have come, like this year, for example, they've looked on Facebook groups. So before you come, you can change your location on Facebook to like whatever city that you're going to and look on either Facebook Marketplace or either Facebook Marketplace or like housing groups in your area. So if you're going to, I don't know, maybe like New York City or you plan to live in Brooklyn, if you go on Facebook and type like Brooklyn housing or something, you will see all of these housing groups where people post available apartments, and that's a place that you can start looking from. One thing I'd say is, as much as possible, try to connect with somebody from the school that you're going to, because these people who can either one have apartments available that they know about, or two, if they're really, really nice, they could even, if you guys develop like a good relationship, they could help you check out these apartments in person to be sure that it's not a scam and all of those things. So there are different options for how to sort out accommodation before you get here.
Yeah, thank you, Amara. Good answer. In addition to that, what I literally was going to say is reach out, look for people who are already in the school, preferably Nigerians who can kind of give you what you need, who can tell you, okay, this is what I saw, this is what I saw. Do the website, do your own research, and so on. So I'm just going to talk about a couple of things. Is it possible to run an assistantship and also work in the Habiba? Do you want to clear there? Do you want to
The
create
NHS
yourself?
is for the NHS is for the US and for the UK, no?
For the UK,
I
yeah,
don't know. I don't have experience
with the UK.
Okay. But someone's hand is up though.
Okay,
Rosalia,
give
is
me
that
a
Rosalia?
second before I call on Rosalia. So I just wanted to say a couple of things. I see people in the chat who are also asking things like, oh, I want to apply to grad school and so on. So this Zoom session is brought to you guys by Getting Educational Consulting, and we do a lot of work, a lot of good work, and I'll just share with you some testimonials. So one of the ones I really love is the first picture of Abiyonju, who secured 3 fully funded scholarships, the DAD scholarship, the Erasmus scholarship, and the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. He ended up going for the DAD scholarship because to him, developing a language is important. So he's currently in Germany right now. This is Kome. Kome is, yeah, she's my sister. She's currently in UCL and she's doing amazing things. She's rounding up her dissertation. We also have Ashwarya, who's from India, who is also now in the US in Stony Brook University, and also managed to secure a lot of opportunities and offers in Europe. We also have Bond, who just graduated and has actually relocated from the US. He went to Stanford, he got into Harvard, got into UPenn, got into Columbia. This is what they call scholar agba, because these people be doing the most. So, and let me tell you the thing that's interesting, not everyone on this list has a first class. So don't be like, Bond for sure did not have a first class. I interviewed him and he got into Harvard, got into UPenn, got into Columbia. He got into Northwestern as well, 6 top schools. So don't feel like you have to have a first class. We also have Billy Case, who is also one of my Getting sisters, and she got into the University of Nottingham with the Developing Master Solution Scholarship. So I know that the UK does not offer a lot of funding, but there are some that you can definitely get to support you. And lastly, we have Tommy Day, who has also graduated from the University of New Haven. He was able to secure 75% funding. But the good thing is that using all the strategies we teach, he came to the US and literally secured enough funding to cover the gap for himself. And he now works as a civil engineer. So the bootcamp, we'll be doing the most. So if you feel like this is something you're interested in, or you're already part of the Getting community, you're still thinking, you're still going back and forth, I really want you guys to think about it, to pursue the possibility that this time next year, this time 2 years from now, you could also be wherever your dream country is, okay? So I'm going to go back to this slide that has the social media information. See, I've already told you guys, go and watch Amara. The reason she's here in the first place is because of her YouTube channel. It's not like we know each other personally. I was just like, this person, like, she's a Nigerian, she's an international student. How is she so knowledgeable about all these things? So follow her, watch all her videos that she has been posting for. How many years have you been doing this? 2?
One, I actually started last summer, May. So this is like 1
Yeah,
year.
so she has been posting a lot of videos and she really is not easy. Please go and support her, watch her videos, like it, share. If you feel like you're not going to the US, but you have some friends who are going, you can share with them. Even if you're not going to the US, those videos can give you the questions you need to ask, so that when you get to wherever you are, you know, you can say, okay, well, I know they have credit card in the US. How's it here in the UK? Okay. And follow Getting as well. Thank you. You can also follow me. Oh, me, I'm boring. I don't have anything to share. But I'm at Fake Viton, which is my full name on Instagram. Sometimes I post a little aspire to perspire, but generally I don't be doing much. All right. So Rosalia, we'll take your question, and then after Rosalia's question, Amara, I'm going to give you like 5 minutes to just round up and say what are just some things you feel like how education has impacted you, being in grad school, what it has done for you, and any rounding advice you have for the people. Okay, Rosalia, go ahead. Rosalia, yeah.
Sonia, mute yourself.
Okay,
Keep
Rosalia,
muting
I'm
and
not
muting.
really sure what's going on, so I'll read a message which says, are
Oh,
you
hi.
okay? Hi, go ahead.
Hi. Sorry, I think there was something up with my phone or something is wrong with the network.
No worries.
Thank you so much for this platform. My name is Rosalia. I'm from Namibia. So I'm currently busy with my master's degree, and I have like a full-time job, and that I've been working in for about 11 years now. So I have a business which is organic waste, and I would like to do a PhD in that program, or in bioenergy. But now I'm interested in South Africa because I want to be closer to the project and be able to actually do research on the business that we are running. So do you also assist people to get scholarships in African universities, or is it just like overseas or something? Yeah.
So
Thank you.
Rosalia, very good question, because this year we actually have a scholar who went to South Africa for her PhD. So any country you want to go to is really up to you. What we do is just provide you the tools, the strategies, the tips, the tricks, basically help you understand how to refine your profile, your portfolio, to be able to do these things. The choice of country and university is ultimately up to you. We're not going to apply for those scholarships for you, but you're going to have a community of people who can encourage you, who can help provide reviews and so on. So Rosalia, if this is something that you're interested in, you can reach out to us at Getting Edo. You can DM us, and somebody will respond to you and let you know what the next steps are. Okay. Thank you. So, I'll quickly answer your question. Assistantships, it all depends on the school and the program. Usually, assistantships will pay your tuition and provide some kind of stipend. That stipend is then what you will use to pay your housing. Now, as an international student, you have to be prudent with finances. We didn't talk about finances here, but I feel like the next time we have this living and thriving in grad school session, we will talk about finances. You have to be prudent. If your stipend is $2,000, you can't go and get an apartment that is $2,000. How will you pay the rest? Unless you have money from somewhere else, okay? So that one will be up to you. That means it might mean that you have to have a roommate. It might mean that you have to be in a 4-bed, in a 5-bed, but you need to stay within your money. What options are available to people who may have quit their jobs for grad school? So sometimes some schools may give you like small scholarships, like 2K, 1K, 5K here. You can use that to supplement, but usually assistantships come with some kind of stipend. Now, different schools have different assistantships. You can get a 75% assistantship, which means they cover 75% of your tuition. You have the remaining basic to pay. Just be clear on how it is before you accept the terms of it. I hope that helps. Okay,
I was
Amara,
also going to
go ahead.
just on this topic of assistantships. So certain schools, my school definitely does not do this, but there are certain schools where if you do research for a professor, so if you work as a research assistant, you could also get like 100% assistantship, meaning like your tuition is covered, and you also get a stipend. Now, would that stipend be enough to live off? Questionable, right? So if possible, always have a backup plan, but these options are available.
Yeah, I personally right now live on my assistantship, and let me tell you, it's hard because
Is
they basically pay you the minimum. They are basically like,
look,
we're already paying your tuition, so just manage this little
yeah,
one.
yeah. Someone who started at my school last year, she often jokes that when she reached out to me and we're talking, I don't even remember this, but she said I told her that we get paid enough just to live above poverty level. And honestly, it's true. So it's not really, the time. For PhD students, it might be a bit different, depending on your school and the cost of living, all of this. But just come with the mindset that I'm just going to make just enough money to cover my basic expenses. And yeah, it's a sacrifice, it's just a
It is,
short part of your life. It's a
is.
sacrifice, and to keep yourself going, think about your dream job, how you're going to be
Exactly.
flying everywhere. At least
That's
for me, I
what I
like
do.
traveling. How you be flying everywhere when you finally make it,
Yeah.
keep you going
Yeah.
until you graduate.
Yeah. So, and of course, whenever you get to the school, you get to just keep looking for more opportunities and so on. What some people also do is that they rough it out in their first year. When they do their summer internship, they save that money and,
They
have
save up,
some
yeah.
money to, still use during the year. But let me just tell you, it's tough. It's tough, that's the truth. But there are ways around it. Like I said, if your stipend is 2K, just common sense will tell you that unless you have another income coming from somewhere, you can't use all the 2K for rent, because how will you buy food? How will you pay your bills? And America is not like Nigeria. If you always say, they will be chasing you.
Rent is by the way, paying rent is every month though. It's every month. It's not like
Every month,
Nigeria or like most other places where you pay like, on a yearly basis. I think when you come to grad school, again, if you don't have any sort of, I guess, external resources, funding sources, just come with the mindset, like I said before, that's a sacrifice, right? Personally, I would rather live alone. I'd rather be in my own space. But guess what? The reality of my life does not allow for that, right? So just it's a phase of your life where you might need to, I guess, squish your standard of living or your ideal situation, but do what you need to do to get to the point where you can do what you want to do. I think that's what I'm going to wrap up with.
Okay, thank you, Amara. So now the floor is yours. Give us your parting words. What are some things that you feel like, okay, this has been the highlight of my experience, and based on this, I'm going to round up with this.
Highlight of my experience. This might sound very somehow, but quite frankly, so far the highlight of my experience is not having to do classes anymore. Because I'm in a PhD program, and it might differ from school to school, but like, my program, after your like the first 2 years, you're done with coursework. So now it's like I can actually focus on my research. I feel like my time is now mine. I'm, more flexible. That's one. And two, it would also be the opportunities that I've gotten, like Faye Piton said, like there are lots of opportunities to do different things, right? And these opportunities build up on each other. So I would use myself as an example. In my second year, I was on the graduate students chemistry graduate students council. So
Ah,
in my department, I
I
was
said,
one
they
of the
be
five
sending
people.
me email. I know fit. I just don't have
I
the
was one
time.
of the five people on the CGSC.
Mm.
And it was, for me, it was like a nice experience because it was something else that was just not like strictly academic. And I need that balance in my life. Now, this year, I'm a community fellow at my university, which means like now my work has gone from just the chemistry department to now like literally entire university, and just talking about how opportunities build up on each other, right? And I was applying for my community fellowship. I was like, oh, this is basically almost the same thing I do like on with the chemistry department, just on a more widespread level, right? So I was able to leverage that experience from from being on the graduate student council to now being a community fellow. Speaking of which, please look out for fellowships because oftentimes they'll give you some small money, extra money on the side. So that's also a way that you could potentially supplement your income. So yeah, I think doing all of these other things, extracurricular things, building up on my leadership experience is something that I thoroughly enjoyed and I'm enjoying so far about grad school. Um yeah.
Thank you so much, Amarachi. So I will just conclude by saying that education changes lives. I'm a big advocate for that. Even if you don't feel like, oh, my plan is to necessarily jackpot, my plan is just to get this education, the experiences will change your outlook on life. You will meet people, you will experience places, you will experience spaces that will just be like, wow, there's so much more to the world than just where I'm coming from. So if this is something you really want, it's hard. I'm not going to tell you that when you get here, everything will be nice. There are days where you just be like, who send me work?
What am I doing here? Yeah.
You will question yourself multiple times. You will cry. Sometimes you just be frustrated, not really because anything is happening, but because you're just exhausted. You're exhausted from having, for me, for example, I never worked throughout my undergrad except during the holidays. So to come to a space where I'm going to school, I'm working, doing multiple things as well, trying to play, because before when we were younger, you're saying, oh, it's my parents that are responsible. Now you're responsible for yourself. For any choice you make, you're going to live with it. So just that added pressure of I want to do well, I want to succeed, everything can be a lot. But in the grand scheme of things, it's an experience and it can change the trajectory of your life and that of your family and your community. So thank you so much to all of you guys for being here. I'm really hoping that we can continue to do this more often, and I can bring you more guest speakers. Everyone is busy. Grad students, they're always busy, but I hope I can continue to get you guys more people and we can just keep having these conversations, these real conversations, so you know how it really is. Because I think that most times we don't talk about it and people come here and they're like, oh my gosh, I never knew that was a thing. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining again. I'm going to stop the recording now. The recording